You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Coogs, a podcast about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach Parker Ainsworth, here to break down all things Cougs. If you're a Houston fan or just a hater, can't stop by, thank you for making Locked On Coogs. At this point, it might be your last listen of the day. I have to say, completely being honest, house is full. People over for all kinds of stuff this week and weekend. I was coaching today. I was watching the Cougs today, all kinds of stuff. I'm sitting here in the legitimate laundry room, set up on a washing machine. But I had to take the time to come out here and talk about Houston's big win over Kansas State. Tell me in the comments down below what your reaction was and when you knew it was happening today. Today's just brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook that did not have Houston favored in this game. 12.5-point underdogs at kickoff on FanDuel, but more on all of the fun at FanDuel later. So much to react to in this one. Houston Cougars, Willie Fritz, get their third Big 12 win in a 4-week span this season. Really, really gutsy win today. It started late, right? Houston starts the game late with a lightning delay. Threw off a little bit of my Saturday, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know what it did to your Saturday. You also, for what it's worth, had Houston wearing their all-black uniforms, which seems to be like the recipe for chaos and things like that as well. In this game, lots of questions about play calling and this and that. Ultimately, the Houston Cougars, on the legs of Zeon Chriss, the backs of that defense, these wins just seem to keep rolling. And I want to talk some about the full circle moment and kind of where we're at the end of this episode. I want to talk some about the defense in the second segment. But I just want to react for a second and just talk about, oh my goodness, Houston beat number 17 Kansas State. Avery Johnson is a sophomore that I'm telling you, by the time he's done playing college football, if he's healthy the whole time through, will be in like Heisman type of conversations. He might not win one, whatever. He is that kind of good. I know it's hard to believe after what the Houston defense just did to him. I'm telling you, that's how good the defense played. He's going to be that kind of good at some point in his college career. Tremendous. They took a team that rushed for 220-plus yards per game this season, held them to 89 yards rushing in a sloppy track of sorts at that. Turned them over twice, won the turnover battle in this game. All kinds of fun stuff to pick out of this one. The offense, I think people drew ire with because of the run, pass, run kind of stuff, right? And ultimately, some of that I don't think is like necessarily unfounded. By my count here, Houston did run the ball 40 times for 121 yards. If I'm looking at the stats, I know sometimes sacks get taken into that, but on the whole, I think people looked at that as like a question mark. I have to say that the 3 yards of carry, when you're factoring in sacks as well, ultimately isn't awful. Especially for how much crap people give the offensive line with this group, things like that. I think that really actually kind of is getting flipped on its head a little bit. You can't run this often if your offensive line is all that bad. I think I'm also speaking, though, as a coach that will tell you that if we can get 3.5 yards on every play, we're just going to do that over and over and over again because eventually they break. And I think we saw that in this game where in the fourth quarter, Houston played dominant football. I mean, that fourth quarter Houston team was as good as they've looked in a long time. I'm talking about before this show was a show, kind of long time. It'd be back because you could maybe go to the American Athletic Conference championship game season. I'd probably go back a little bit further, if I'm being honest, and how well I thought they looked like in that fourth quarter. And then you have Zeon Chris's run, breaks for a 41-yarder because, again, the defense got worn down. I think that body blow style is maybe a pain and a drag to watch, and I get that vibe, and bluntly, I would agree. I also think they should take shots. I was critical as offensive coordinator as recently as Monday and Tuesday. They win against a 17-ranked team. It's the highest-ranked team they've beaten since 2019. I think someone said that SMU was the other most recent ranked win in like 2021, but they were like 19th or something like this. It's a big big-time win for the program because when you look at it, they're starting to do things that, bluntly, the nation didn't think was possible, that have not been done in a long time. And I'm here to tell you, as weird as it may sound, this is the floor. This is the early stage of the program. It only gets better. and suffering through the last couple of years of bad football and suffering through some of those bad, Cincinnati and Iowa State this year, that helped get to this here. And now we're sitting here watching a team that, again, legitimately, we'll talk about in the final segment, has shots at bowl season. We could go bowling. And I don't mean the kind with pins. It's crazy to think about that's where this football team resides. Got comments of the people reacting down below. COOGS HOUSE says that he is feeling good. Yahoo Cougar football. Gotta love those. Someone asked about Nate Jordan asked about a cardiologist. Tight wins not the cardiac Cougs, man. If you're gonna be one of us, you gotta have that on deck. Like, you gotta have your own cardiologist. That's just the deal here, right? Like, that's so the cardiac Cougs are incredible win. Comeback out of the first half turnover. Agreed. I have to say and admit that I was worried about needing to win the turnover battle and being unable to do it because I thought Kansas State was going to be able to run the ball in the second half, and they could not. And then Houston forced a couple picks, right? But the turnover thing really important here. One, dedicated fans is Houston, as always. And then reminder, this is the first back-to-back Big 12 win for Coach Fritz. What the difference a year makes. Huge win for the program from EI Crabtree. Yeah. Agreed. Back-to-back Big 12 wins. 3 of the last 4 Big 12 games. And a very winnable next couple. Things are all shaping out for this team as they're finding themselves. Zeon Chriss was worth also steps in as starting quarterback, has only played well since. And while, he got dinged up initially in the UNLV game, didn't play in the Oklahoma game, Rice was Rice. And then we started seeing him come in the fold shortly thereafter, if we're being completely honest. He gets a lot of credit for his legs and things his legs do. And he is a phenomenal athlete. I don't mean to take that away from him or say that's not a skill set of his that benefits Houston greatly. He was 11 for 11 for 103 yards and a touchdown in a game that seemed like the rain never stopped coming down. That's really, really hard for any college quarterback. And I want to stress that's really, really hard for a young college quarterback that was not in this program a year ago, right? Not playing Big 12 football a year ago. Really, really impressive day from him. I love, for all the crap we give to play calling, and there's plenty of it to be given this game. I don't mean to say there's not. I don't want to let the win cloud that. The man still get 3 yards per carry, and the timing of some of the gadgety things, right? The timing of the play action pass to Manjack that was a touchdown, didn't get called. Those when they scored anyway, right? That was well done, right? The timing of the pop pass to Malik Carr for a touchdown, that was well done. And frankly, there's a credit execution on players or coaching, but the reverse pass from Manjack to Zeon Chriss, where Chriss kind of breaks his route off early to catch the ball for a 6-yard gain as opposed to trying to go get a touchdown and getting it picked off. That was impressive too. I think that's a combination of a lot of things, but each of those moments are things that I don't think this team does a month ago, 5-6 weeks ago, certainly. And that's signs of getting better. And ultimately, in this rebuilding season, it's really nice that this is happening in another win, because this is not pro sports where tanking helps you, so get all the wins you can. But it's overall just nice to see you're getting wins and getting better. You're playing tougher teams and getting wins and getting better. Now, I've talked a lot about a lot of different things, but I want to focus some on the defensive side of the football, because there's like 8 different game balls to hand out to the defensive side of the football. Before we get to that, I want to talk to you about our buddies over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Listen, if you ever have a hunch like this week that the Houston Cougars are going to flip the upset, you got to go do it at FanDuel right now. New customers can bet $5, get $100 back, $150 back in bonus bets if you win. And we know the Cougs are on upset alert every single week. They're putting teams on it. The FanDuel sportsbook app gives you everything you need to make all these live bets in one place. And the hunch, if you get the hunch in the middle of the game, live stats, play-by-play, so much more. If it's FanDuel.com, join today. Get $150 back in bonus bets with your first $5 win. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of in the NFL. Parker Ainsworth, Locked On Coogs, you're reacting in a literal closet made for the laundry to talk to, because I'm just that excited. I want to talk about the Houston beating the Kansas State Wildcats, number 17 ranked team in America, on Saturday. I can't believe this football team pulled it off. And while we're going to credit where credit is due to different offensive performances, obviously, this was a game dominated start to finish by the Houston Cougar defense. Shill Wood, Willie Fritz being a defensive-minded guy when he was a position coach and coordinator, that was what he did. For a reference on how great the defense played, Houston won by a touchdown for all intents and purposes, 5 points. They had just 10 first downs. Kansas State had 21. They had 100 yet less yards. And frankly, I guess Houston had less penalties. That goes their way, right? On the whole, the defense was asked to be on the field a lot over 31 minutes of football game, to play a lot of tough football against a really good offense that runs the ball very well. And they came up big time after time after time after time. Some plays it was defensive linemen like Carlos Allen and Keith Cooper. Some plays it was Michael Batton. Some plays it was Hershey McLaurin. Some plays it was Kenshell Webb. Some plays it was AJ Haulcy. It was these guys over and over and over again. I would stress, now I don't think I've talked about him enough on this show. Hershey McLaurin played phenomenally, and he's presently my pick for Locked On's Player of the Week for the Houston Cougars. Honestly, I don't know that a stat line does what he did justice. In my stats, I got pulled up right here. He's credited with 4 tackles, 2 TFLs, pass breakup. He just felt like he was everywhere. He was in on tackles. He was in on deflections. He was in tight coverage. He was putting pressure on the quarterback. It felt like Hershey McLaurin was doing everything. Now, I've got to be honest. Other candidates for this award on the defense side of the ball, the thing that's going to go to someone on the defense as well as Zeon Chriss played. I think ultimately you've got AJ Haulcy had his own 8 tackles as a safety, 7 of those being solo tackles. Michael Batton led the team in tackles with 11 and had the big pick at the end of the game that ultimately led to them icing the game out. Obviously, it's not quite the same as if they just ended it right there and got the first down, deal it out, but it ultimately kind of iced the game out. I thought Jeremiah Wilson, had his own couple big plays. He did get beat deep one time, but pretty solid coverage the rest of the way. He had his own 5 tackles. I felt like Hershey McLaurin was everywhere, but I'm open to hearing more names on this one. McLaurin's versatility in this game was incredible. He lined up in the box as a linebacker. He rushed the passer like an edge rusher. He played some low safety. I want to say one time he even backpedaled out the gate, which made me think he was transitioning back to play high safety on the snap. And I'll watch the game again on Sunday like I always do. I usually watch at double time speed to try and get it fitted in between everything on Sundays. But we'll see. I think he was backpedaling to get back to a free safety on the snap. He's doing some really ridiculously difficult things. And truthfully, in each of these Houston wins this season, but also in the last month, I feel like I feel like you got a lot of guys here to give credit to. Comments here coming in. Aiden Watson says AJ Haulcy is a Sunday player. I think they've got 2 or 3 of those. I would say Haulcy and Keith Cooper are the ones that jump off the screen the most, as the most ready. Haulcy strikes me as like a 2004 kind of safety. Like a 2004, that guy's like a first or second round pick. He's a hard hitter, box type safety, flies around, great cover guy. And frankly, back in the old timey rules, he would punish guys coming across the middle in a way that I don't think people are ready to watch on television. It might be like rated R. He's really that kind of violent in the best way possible, right? Violent on the football field, good guy off of it. That's the best kind of thing you have. And that's what AJ Haulcy brings to the football program. I think Keith Cooper is 2. Keith Cooper pretty much double teamed every play this game, and there were a couple of those pass rushes down the stretch where they're trying to get something going on. Those last 2 drives that Kansas State had, and it looked like to me they had 2 and a chip on Keith Cooper. He's got the size of 6'5", 280. I think coming out of high school, people worried about his body lean and bend, that he might play high or something. He clearly gets under high-level Kansas State offensive linemen and across the Big 12. Forcing double teams is not an easy task. And the fact that he still puts up pretty strong D-line numbers, I think is a very tangible way to look at what he's doing this year. Other comments rolling in. So people go to Coach Poll on this. That's fair. Crabtree 37. I don't know what that is. He says that this is technically a top 15 win, with Kansas State being 15 in the coaches poll. The numbers I was referencing as far as like the highest ranked win since 2019 or whatever, were all tied to the AP poll. I'd have to look at more stats on what the last time to be the top 15 team in the coaches poll was, but that's fair enough. I think the bigger thing for this one is that people across the nation assumed Kansas State was going to win this game. And now with the college football playoff rankings coming out on Tuesday, people kind of assumed that Kansas State would have an outside shot at getting ranked in that. And the truth is that it kind of looked like the Kansas State-Iowa State game at the end of the year was going to be a de facto playoff game. Winner going to Arlington, and then winner could win in Arlington for the Big 12 championship game. They get to keep going. Instead, Kansas State loses to Houston, and it seems like they might not make that game, right? They got 2 losses. Colorado has 2 losses. I think Iowa State lost today. I don't know. Good news, I guess, those high school basketball team of coaches starting off the year 1-0. So we got that win today, as long a day as that made it. All of these things, though, I think factor in how crazy this win was, right? Like, I don't know that there's enough words to say about this defense, and I don't know that you can say enough about them. I don't know. Aiden calls this a Kansas State trap game. I'd actually check their schedule, see who they play next week. I would say at the end of the season, but next week they're playing Arizona State. Actually, there's 2 weeks from now. So they had a bye week. I guess you could say they're looking forward to the bye week, maybe, if you're looking for like a trap game kind of feel. And that actually might be real. They might have already thought they're on bye week or something. But truthfully, I wouldn't look at their first half and say those guys weren't like playing hard or dialed in. I think Houston made plays across this game up front. Houston made plays in the back half. I know that could be a national look at this, as that Houston was involved in a trap game with Kansas State. But on the whole, I would hold up and say, like, look, Houston had to make plays in this game across the board here, right? And so I know that I'm a homer. I'm not going to say I'm not. And then on the second watch tomorrow, we'll come back on Monday's episode and talk some more specific. We got a whole lot going on Monday. We got a basketball game Monday night. We might kick book club to Tuesday with Mirren, just because there's so much going on. But on the whole, I would say this was a gigantic program lifting win for Houston, one that they can really hang their hat on. You got Willie Fritz crowd surfing, students rush the fields in a way that was, to be fair to any students watching this, incredibly both respectful and cool. They're like, Kansas State was able to exit without any problems, and Houston rushed the field in a mud pit, and like it was all positive. There were no you saw fans getting beaten up at Kansas at SEC games today. You've seen fans throw the trash on the field down in Austin. For all the crappy college football fans out there and all the crap you see about Houston people being negative on the internet about Houston, their own team, very respectful moment from the students. Like, it was very well done. And so it was cool to see, like, hey, them's our guys, right? Like, good on you. Good job. Them's our guys. Now I want to look at this game as a full circle moment. I'll look at the kind of what this means for the season and kind of where we sit, because that's where my head's been at for like the couple hours since it ended, as we were doing some family things because I was not here all day and stuff like that. Because you got to do those kind of things too, right? And I want to talk about that in a moment. But before we get to that, Houston's got one more home game left. They play the Baylor Bears on November 23rd. And the best place to get tickets to that game is GameTime. And while I pull up the GameTime app right now to show you how easy it is to look up tickets for this game, I want to stress that both Houston and Baylor are kind of having weirdly similar years. And I want to look at Baylor at Houston right now. The get-in price on GameTime, all-in pricing, toggle that switch. The get-in price is $27. The lower bowl price is $47 to go see your Houston Cougars play Baylor in their final home game of the year. They're wearing Houston Cougar blue. All the blue stuff's going to get rolled out. All the fun with that's happening. In-state rivalry game on top of that. And frankly, if Houston beats Arizona this week, they're looking at that Baylor game as a chance to be bowl eligible. Why would you not buy tickets to that? And why would you not do it at GameTime? They got all-in pricing, lowest price guarantee, all kinds of different ways to make sure that you are getting in on the action with GameTime. Go down the GameTime app today. Create an account, use code Locked On Coogs for $20 off your first purchase. So that $47 ticket in the lower bowl turns into a $27 ticket. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On College, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? It's GameTime. Parker Ainsworth, Houston, Locked On Coogs here, talking about all things Houston Cougars and the Houston's upset win over Kansas State. It's been a long day. I'm sitting in the laundry room talking to you because my house is full of family and stuff like that, but I'm excited to talk about this game. And I want to talk about it in a full circle kind of moment because last year, kind of a nail in the coffin for the season was when Houston traveled up to Kansas State and Manhattan, Kansas for a day game, a road game. And ultimately, in a game that, I don't know that Houston never had they were certainly an underdog all week and all season long, and even going into last season would have been an underdog. But Houston lost 41-0 in a way that it was, simply put, unacceptable. They looked low energy. They looked lifeless. They looked selfish. They looked poorly coached. They looked poorly disciplined, etc. Right? Ultimately, that head coach and coaching staff can't. Right? We know that story. Bye-bye Dana Holgorsen, all those kinds of things. Right? They had the offseason, and they have the second most transfer portal movement of any program in Division I college football. Second most. Bringing new guys in, old guys out. And frankly, if we're being honest, a lot of talent left. Matthew Golden is doing very well. St. Brown is doing very well. Chidozie Nwankwo was at the game today because I think Colorado's on a bye week. He's seen his buddies or whatever. For what it's worth, I know people want to talk down about Colorado, but Chidozie is actually playing a lot there and playing all right. And they're 5-2 or something like that, right? Or they're doing all right. Anyway, what I'm getting at is flash forward to today. New coach, new discipline, new passion, new guys, new culture, new system. And Houston upsets a Kansas State team that, for what it's worth, was projected to do better. Right? It's a more difficult task. And I get that it was at home, and I get that the lightning delay probably helped, and the rain definitely helped, and all that kind of stuff, the blackout magic, whatever. Ultimately, roughly an estimated year later, it's impossible to argue that Houston is not in a better place. They've quite literally matched their season totals win from last year, have more Big 12 wins, have winnable Big 12 games left to play. They might even get favored in that Baylor game if they mess around and beat Arizona by a lot. Right? Like, this season is demonstrably better than last season, and it's the worst point it's going to be. I know all progress is not linear and that there will be hiccups and speed bumps or whatever metaphor you want to put on it, but the Willie Fritz era is just starting. It's going to be better next year because the recruits on campus the last 2 weeks for these home games are seeing how much fun it is to come win with the Houston Cougars. And we're only going to win more when I'm here. That's what those recruits are saying, right? The Keyshawn Henderson, 2026 top athlete in the state of Texas, he's like, heck yeah, guys, this is what we're going to do. Right? Austin Carlisle out there tearing up at Richmond, he's coming, right? Like, it's only going to get better. And again, I know there'll be speed bumps, there'll be step backs, whatever. But this feeling is only going to continue to happen. The wins, are only going to continue to happen. It's crazy to think that we're sitting here November 2nd. I'm sitting in a laundry room in a house that I didn't own a year ago. Sitting here talking to you about the Houston Cougars realistically staring at a bowl game. Their first year in the Big 12, were like, it'd be a miracle if they made a bowl game. Now it feels like there's a real shot. They play Arizona, who's got some talented skill guys, but has had a bad season, to put it nicely. They got to go to Arizona to do it, which is tricky, whatever, right? But they play Arizona. They play someone's saying they love my office. This is my laundry room. This is my backpack. This is my wife's. There's some keys. They go to Arizona. They come back and play Baylor at home. And then, frankly, even if one of those goes south, they go to Provo to play BYU. And if BYU is undefeated at that point, they're going to the Big 12 title game. And I don't mean this in a way that they're going to throw in the towel or anything like that. The guys in the field won't be playing hard. But would you play your starting quarterback, Jake Retzloff, or your star defensive lineman, or your star safety, or whatever, if you knew for a fact you were locked into the Big 12 title game the next week, and if you won that Big 12 title game, you got a bye week in the college football playoff? There's a chance that Houston plays a watered-down version of BYU that week. And I don't mean to say I want to beat a watered-down one. I want to beat the real one. But on the whole, this feels like there's at least chances to win each game left. And you've only got to win 2 to get a bowl. That's unfathomable. If you'd asked me in July, and I'm an optimistic guy about the Houston Cougars to a fault. I get criticized on that all the time. I'm too nice to these guys. I'm too nice to this, too nice to that, and I'll eat that. I don't think in my heart of hearts I would have thought that going into this month of crazy tough teams to play, you had gone into it with 2 wins and come out of it looking at a bowl. I just don't. I just don't. Like, that's how big a turnaround this team has had. That's how good this team has become, or how much better they've gotten, or whatever you want to put on it. The other thing I'll say, too, is the desire to make a bowl is not just like an arbitrary thing. It's an extra month of practice for a coach building a culture and system, right? If they play in a bowl, they go from finishing the season on November 30th to finishing it like December 22nd or something like that, right? That's an extra month of practices, an extra month of game film, an extra month of weight room, an extra month of every single aspect of this program to keep guys locked in, right? And so suddenly you're pulling in a lot more return on those 3 weeks, right? It's not just, oh, hey, we get to go to a bowl game, then a game on TV, get a little bit, bag of swag or whatever for our kids. You get all that too, but you get to get better as a program in a way that you don't if you don't. Now, I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom if they don't make a bowl game. Frankly, it's been, I think, as I've already argued, a successful year one for Fritz thus far. But it's impossible to say that this bowl game being in reach right now doesn't tickle the fancy or make you excited about what could potentially be about to happen. I got a lot of people here in the comments, so I want to make sure we got stuff going on here. Houston Blue Vibes for that Baylor game. I think it's probably when I was talking about Baylor. They got more. They more than got a shot against Arizona, and Baylor walked off TCU with a winning kick. So Baylor and TCU being comparable in a rivalry game, I think that's a fair comparison. We beat TCU. We get Baylor at home. We beat TCU at their place. I think it's a fair comparison. Awful aficionado, Aiden Watson, tell me something then. I'd like to know what national view Houston's college football program. Oh, they're going back and forth with national view because there's an Arkansas fan in the chat. Love the new office. Thank you. The whole season has clearly been educational for me. I'm just happy for showing up and showing progress. Thank you for that TI7791. Locked On Coogs. It's time to get a studio with all these top 25 wins. I work this is technically like my 3rd or 4th job. It's just the fun one. I'm a teacher and a coach, and I usually use our guest room, our other bedroom, as my office of sorts. But we got people here this weekend, families here, so they're sleeping in it. So I'm in the laundry room because I thought the acoustics were nice. And also it's the farthest from the sleeping baby. And so I thought that would work the best. But yeah, it's not the best digs. We need a quarterback 2025. I think Zeon's getting better by the week, and so I'm not so sure I'm going to put the pause on him. I think between him and Carlisle competing for it as a freshman, I think it's going to be a lot to look forward to. Lots to look forward to this week. You got Houston Cougars playing basketball. Men's basketball season starts Monday night. This win to keep reliving. We got book club with Marin Fader talking about the Hakeem Olajuwon book Dream. Her biography on Hakeem is truly one of a kind. We'll have more football to talk about. We'll have Arizona. We'll have a Big 12 squad. And man, oh man, that's going to be a fun one this week. Oh man, it's a fun time to be a Houston Cougar. Thank you all for tuning in live. I know it was live a little bit later. It's not the typical live post game. Again, with things like family and coaching and stuff like that, it's been a weird day. But I just had to sit down and talk about this one. It was too much fun. I could not talk about. I mean, if they lost, got blown out, I probably still would have been hearing like cried my misery out or whatever. But instead, the Houston Cougars beat the number 17 Kansas State Wildcats 24-19 in a wildly impressive victory. And the weeks just keep getting better. Remember, Locked On Coogs is a proud member of the Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team every day. Go Cougs.